It is 2 in the morning and sold at a $5 million house in Gangnam. The kind of house that has rooms nobody uses and art that nobody looks at and silence so total it has its own texture. John Hyun-woo is standing in his kitchen eating instant ramen. He is wearing a suit that costs more than most people's monthly salary. His shoes are on. His tie is perfectly straight. His expression is the expression of a man conducting a board meeting with his own exhaustion and losing, decisively, on every front. There is a gun on the counter. It is sitting next to the seasoning packet. This is fine. This is normal. This is just a Tuesday. John Hyun-woo is 35 years old, and he is the most feared man in Seoul's criminal underworld. He controls territories across 3 districts. He brokers deals between organizations that would collapse entire economies if anyone examined them too closely. His lieutenants have been loyal to him for over a decade, men who would, and have, walked into genuinely dangerous situations on his word alone, without question, without hesitation. He is, by every measurable standard, at the top of something. He eats his ramen. He stares at the wall. The house is very quiet and very large, and John Hyun-woo is the only living thing in it. He has not laughed. Genuinely, completely, from somewhere real. Since he was 19 years old, he does not think about this. He eats the ramen. He goes to bed. He does not sleep particularly well. He never does. Nikki Brown arrives on a Wednesday. She arrives with 2 large suitcases, a carry-on that is technically too heavy for the overhead bin, but she has never once been stopped, a tote bag that says read more on it, and the specific energy of a woman who has decided that if she is going to be 10,000 miles from home, she is going to be 10,000 miles from home entirely on her own terms. She came to Seoul because the job posting said competitive salary, private residence, meals included, and because her ex-boyfriend, the one she spent 3 years trying to make emotionally available through sheer force of optimism, had just gotten engaged to her college roommate. The universe, she decided, was clearly trying to tell her something. She got on a plane before it had to say it twice. She does not know her employer runs a criminal organization. She does not care. She has student loans. She meets Hyun-woo for exactly 4 minutes before he leaves for a meeting. In those 4 minutes, she shakes his hand, takes a full tour of the house, identifies 3 things that need immediate fixing, and tells him his entryway has bad energy. Hyun-woo looks at her. The entryway, he says. The energy, she says. I'll move the table. He leaves for his meeting. She moves the table. His head of security, Baek Juno, veteran of 11 years of syndicate operations, a man with a classified file in 3 national databases and the specific stillness of someone who has learned to be dangerous very quietly, watches this happen from across the hallway and does not stop it. He will later tell the group chat that he simply did not know what to say. Nobody did. That, as it turned out, was going to be a recurring theme. Here is what you need to know about Nikki Brown. She is the kind of warmth that is not performed. It is just present. Structural. The way some people fill a room with their physical size. She fills it with the quality of her attention. She notices things. She remembers them. She acts on them without making it a production. She is also completely unintimidatable. Not because she is fearless, but because she grew up with 4 uncles who all believed simultaneously, and with great confidence, that they were the scariest person in any room they entered. She has been calibrated for exactly this type of man her entire life. John Hyun-woo's silences and cold stares and general atmosphere of imminent consequence bounce off Nikki Brown the way rain bounces off a very good umbrella. She finds him intense. She finds him kind of interesting, actually, in the way that difficult puzzles are interesting. She files this under not my problem and reorganizes his pantry. Before we go any further, 3 things. First, if you are new here, welcome. This channel is where we tell stories that hit different. Stories with real characters, real emotion, real humor, the kind of story that follows you around after it is done. Subscribe right now so you do not miss what comes next. Second, somewhere in this story there is a moment where John Hyun-woo, the most feared criminal in Seoul, checks a clock 11 times in 40 minutes because a woman he will not admit he has feelings for went on a bad date. When you get to that moment, and you will know it when you arrive, drop a timestamp in the comments. I want to see every single person who catches it. Third, the comments on this video are open. This story has 5 conflicts, 1 confession, and a group chat that is genuinely the most emotionally intelligent voice in the entire narrative. After you finish, come back and tell me which moment got you. The pantry? The soup? The fruit? The ears? Come back. Tell me. Okay. We are going in 3 weeks after Nikki arrives. At 2 in the morning, she comes downstairs for water and finds Hyun-woo in the kitchen. Instant ramen. Full suit. One eye twitching very slightly. The gun is on the counter again. This time next to the seasoning packet and a glass of water he has not touched. Nikki leans against the doorframe. She tilts her head. She looks at him the way her mother looks at her uncle after tax season, with the specific, warm, completely unsentimental affection of someone watching a person suffer unnecessarily when the solution is obvious. "You look like my uncle after tax season," she says. "You want me to make you some real food, Ajiasi?" She means Mr. A term of respect she learned from a YouTube video 3 weeks ago. She has been practicing. This is her first real deployment. She is, privately, proud of herself. Across the kitchen, John Hyun-woo has stopped moving entirely. Ajiasi. Little uncle. His grandmother, the only person who ever looked at him like he was both slightly ridiculous and completely beloved at the same time, called him that. She died when he was 19 years old. In 16 years, he has not heard that word used softly. Without calculation. Without fear. Without the specific careful quality that every word in his world carries, because every word in his world is aware of what he is. Just warm. Casual. Like he is someone's uncle. Like he is a person. He stands up. He straightens his tie. He walks to his room. He closes the door. And then John Hyun-woo, feared by organizations across 3 districts, survivor of assassination attempts and federal investigations, a man who once ended a rival operation with 3 words and a single phone call, slides down his bedroom door onto the floor and sits there staring at the ceiling for 1 full hour. Juno knocks for the scheduled briefing. He finds the boss on the floor. "Sir, are you shot?" "No." "Are we under attack?" "No." "Then what?" "She called me Ajiasi, Juno." A long pause. Juno processes this. He is a man who has processed a great deal in 11 years. This is new territory. "Do you want me to fire her?" "If you fire her," Hyun-woo says, with perfect calm, from the floor, "I will fire you into the Han River." Juno returns to his room. He does not fire her. He texts the group chat one message at 3 in the morning. Something has happened. Nobody asks what. They all somehow immediately know. Now, the pantry. Hyun-woo has had the same pantry organization system since 2014. It is a system built on logic, precision, and a deep personal philosophy about spatial efficiency that he has never explained to anyone because he has never needed to. Every item has a location. Every location has a reason. It is, in his private opinion, a masterpiece of functional organization. Nikki looks at it for 45 seconds and says, "This is giving undiagnosed anxiety," and begins reorganizing it on her 3rd day. Hyun-woo comes home to find his pantry restructured entirely by vibes. The protein supplements are next to the honey. The expensive Japanese rice is on the bottom shelf. Things are grouped by. He examines this in silence for a full minute. Color? Nikki comes around the corner, sees his face, and immediately says, "Before you say anything, I found 4 expired cans of soup in the back. From 2021. You were aging soup, Ajiasi. Like wine. Except it was soup. I knew where everything was. You knew where everything was in a system that made no sense. It made sense to me. The sesame oil was behind the cleaning supplies. It was on the right side of the shelf, the cleaning supply side." He closes the pantry, opens it, closes it again. This is the closest John Hyun-woo has come to a breakdown in 4 years, and he is aware of this, which makes it worse. He reorganizes it back. Silently. At 11 at night, in his suit, she reorganizes it again. The next morning, humming. This goes on for 9 days. His lieutenants begin taking bets. Juno, who has survived 3 assassination attempts, says quietly to Byung-soo that this is the most tense he has felt in a decade. Byung-soo, whose nickname from Nikki is Big Head Byung-soo for reasons that are descriptive and accurate, agrees without hesitation. On day 9. Hyun-woo comes to reorganize the pantry and finds a small sticky note on the shelf. "Ajiasi, the soup expired again. I'm begging you." And he stands there for a long time. He does not reorganize the pantry. He throws away the soup. This is, in the language of John Hyun-woo, a declaration of something enormous. Nobody in the building is brave enough to say what. They are brave enough to put it in the group chat, which is a different thing entirely. Hyunwoo's house operates in near silence. Controlled, deliberate, professional silence. Background noise is a distraction. Distractions cost clarity. Clarity is survival. This philosophy has served him for 16 years without exception. Nikki Brown cleans to a full Beyoncé discography. Chronologically, with commentary. Day 1. She plays Lemonade at a volume that can be felt through the walls. Hyunwoo is in his formal meeting room with two very dangerous men discussing a very delicate territorial negotiation involving 3 districts and a significant amount of money that nobody is going to write down anywhere. One of the dangerous men pauses mid-sentence. Is that? He says slowly. Hold up. Hyunwoo's eye twitches once. Just once. He looks at her. She looks back. Neither of them blinks for an amount of time that would make most people deeply uncomfortable. Nikki is not most people. Logistics, he says finally. She repeats the word slowly, as though testing whether it dissolves under examination. Logistics. So all these serious men coming and going at all hours are logistics men. They are colleagues. Your colleague came in last Tuesday with a black eye and left carrying a duffel bag. He is clumsy. And the duffel bag? Also clumsy. She looks at him for a long moment with the expression of someone filing information away for later. Okay, she says and goes back to eating. She is not done. She is absolutely not done. She starts asking Juno questions when Hyunwoo is not around. Juno has withstood torture. He has endured cross-examination by 3 separate national law enforcement agencies. He has sat in interrogation rooms for hours and given nothing. He lasts 11 minutes with Nikki before he begins to sweat visibly. It's just logistics, like he said. Big head Byung-soo mentioned territories, she says pleasantly. Logistics companies don't have territories. Juno's face does something complicated. Byung-soo talks too much. He was trying to impress me. It didn't work, but I did get information. What territories? Juno calls Hyunwoo before he has even left the room. She's asking questions, sir. What did you tell her? That it's logistics. Good. She said, and I am quoting exactly, that logistics is a lot of word for what sounds like drama. A silence that contains several things. Keep telling her it's logistics. By week 8, Nikki has constructed a theory. She presents it to Hyunwoo over dinner with the confidence of a woman who has done what she considers thorough research. Okay, she says, pointing at him with her chopsticks. I figured it out. He looks up from his documents. You're in witness protection. He puts his chopsticks down. Very slowly. You were probably a regular businessman, she continues, with the momentum of someone who has been waiting to say this. And you saw something you shouldn't have, and now you're hiding, and all these men are your handlers, and the territories thing is because they patrol different zones for your security. That is not. It makes sense, Ajiasi. The secrecy, the weird hours, the general energy of a man carrying a secret that is too big for his suit. I am not in witness protection. You would say that either way. He looks at her for a long moment. Something behind his eyes is doing something unprecedented. Something that, if you were watching carefully and you knew what to look for, might technically be the urge to laugh. He has not laughed in 16 years. His face is not entirely sure what to do with the impulse. Finish your dinner, he says. She points at him. I'm watching you. I know, he says, and picks up his chopsticks. His ears, Juno will report to the group chat within the hour, were slightly red. The group chat's response to this information spans 47 messages. The grandmother photograph moment happens quietly, the way all the truly important moments in this story happen, without announcement, without preparation, slipped into an ordinary afternoon like something that was always going to be there. Nikki finds it on a shelf between 2 books, an old woman and a young boy, both laughing, her hand resting on his cheek with the specific tenderness of someone who believes completely in the person they are touching. The boy's face is open in a way that does not match any face Nikki has seen Hyunwoo make. He looks like someone who has not yet learned to be careful. She is holding it when he walks in. Something crosses his face. Not quite pain, not quite the controlled neutrality he wears everywhere. Something older and less defended. Your family? She asks. A long silence. My grandmother. She looks at the photograph again. At the old woman's hand on the boy's face. At the way the woman is looking at him, like he is something she is proud of, something she would not trade for anything in the world. She looks like she thought you hung the moon, Nikki says. The silence that follows this is the longest silence in a house that runs on silence. She did, Hyunwoo says. Nikki nods once. She puts the photograph back carefully, exactly where she found it. She looks at him for just a moment. At this man in his $50,000 suit with his gun and his empire and his 2 a.m. ramen and his rigid pantry systems and his eye that twitches when things escape his control. Good, she says quietly. Somebody should. She goes back to what she was doing. Hyunwoo excuses himself. A phone call, he says. There is no phone call. He goes to the hallway and he stands there for a while and does something he has not permitted himself in a very long time. He does not call it what it is. He will never call it what it is. But he stands there and his grandmother's voice is in his head, Ajiasi, and a woman from Atlanta just put a photo back exactly where she found it and said somebody should, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. He stands there for quite a while. It is a Tuesday. Nothing is scheduled to change on this Tuesday. The universe does not send a memo. Nikki is on the phone with her mother. Loud, warm, sitting on the kitchen counter eating his good crackers with complete ownership of a space that is not technically hers. And Hyunwoo passes through to get water. He is not stopping. He is just getting water. Takes 12 seconds. He catches one sentence. Mama, I don't know. He's just, no, he's not my type. I said he's not my type, why don't you believe me? He gets his water. He walks back to his office. He sits down at his desk. He opens the document he was reviewing before the water. He reads the same paragraph 11 times. He closes the document. He sits in his office for 40 minutes doing something that, in any other man, would simply be called thinking about his feelings. In Hyunwoo's internal language, it is a security assessment. The assessment concludes, threat level critical. Recommended action, unclear. He has been running criminal operations across 3 districts for over a decade, and he has never once had a recommended action come back as unclear. He does not reopen the document. He begins, over the following days, to engineer his absence. He becomes suddenly and inexplicably very interested in whether Nikki is professionally satisfied. He asks Juno to ask her if she needs anything for her job. Better supplies, different scheduling, a raise perhaps. Juno relays this message. Nikki sends back, tell him I'm fine and also why is he asking you and not me? I'm right here. Hyunwoo tells Juno. Tell her this is standard HR procedure. Juno, who has known Hyunwoo for 11 years and has never in those 11 years heard the words standard HR procedure come out of his mouth, stares at him for a long moment. Sir, go. Are you? Juno. He goes. The avoidance phase begins in earnest. Morning meetings that run long. Site visits that become suddenly essential. An extraordinary volume of business that requires Hyunwoo's presence specifically between the hours of 9 and 4, which happen to be Nikki's working hours. She notices within 48 hours. She does not say anything, but she starts leaving food for him in the refrigerator. Covered plates with sticky notes. Eat before your very important meetings, Ajiasi. This reheats in 2 minutes. I know you know how a microwave works. I made extra. Don't be weird about it. He eats every single plate. He is, for the record, being very weird about it. He tries paying for the food. He leaves extra cash on the kitchen counter, not as additional salary, but as distance. A transaction has a shape he understands. A transaction puts a manageable structure around something that is currently refusing to have any structure. She puts the cash on his desk with a sticky note. I don't want your money for soup. That's weird. Eat the soup. He eats the soup. He is deeply, genuinely unsettled by his own compliance. Then comes the evening she makes doenjang jjigae. She has been learning Korean recipes from a YouTube channel, not for any particular reason, just because she is someone who learns things and cooking is a language she already speaks. This recipe looked good. She has the ingredients. She makes it. She sets the pot on the stove and goes back to what she was doing. She does not know it was his grandmother's dish. She does not know he has not eaten it since he was 19 years old, standing in a different kitchen in a different city, the last night before everything changed into something harder and less forgiving. She just thought it looked good. Hyun-woo comes into the kitchen and he sees the pot and he stops moving completely. The kitchen is warm. It smells of fermented soybean paste and sesame and something that has no name, something that is just the specific compound of a kitchen where someone has been cooking with care. It smells like it did in his grandmother's apartment, in a neighborhood that doesn't exist the same way anymore, when he was a boy and the world had not yet shown him what it was willing to take from him. He stands there for a long time. Nikki comes back in to find the bowl empty and Hyun-woo gone. She thinks nothing of it. She washes the bowl. She goes to bed. In his room, John Hyun-woo is sitting on the edge of his bed with his elbows on his knees and his eyes on the floor. He is doing something that is not crying. Only technically. Only by the narrowest definition of the word. He never mentions it. She will never know. The bowl gets washed and put away and that evening becomes just another Tuesday in a house full of things that never get said out loud. But the next morning he comes down for breakfast without being asked. He doesn't acknowledge this as a change. She doesn't point it out. It becomes simply a thing that is true now, the way some shifts settle into a household so quietly that nobody can identify exactly when they happened. Nikki's nickname for Hyun-woo has, without her intending it, spread. She uses it so naturally, so constantly, with such total unself-consciousness, that his lieutenants have absorbed it into their private vocabulary. Not to his face, they are loyal but they are not foolish. But in the group chat he does not know exists, he is now exclusively Ajiasi. Has been for weeks. He finds out. You have given my entire organization nicknames, he says one morning, leaning in the kitchen doorway with the controlled stillness of someone choosing their words. Nikki doesn't look up from what she is doing. I gave them names I could pronounce. It's a courtesy. Baek Juno has been my top lieutenant for 11 years. He cried at a dog video during lunch. I was being accurate. Im Byung-soo ran operations across. Big Head Byung-soo is a descriptive nickname, she says. I cannot be held responsible for his head being the size that it is. And me. His voice drops to its quietest register. The one that makes people reconsider their choices. Ajiasi. Nikki finally looks up. You have a problem with Ajiasi? I am not, he says with precision. Someone's uncle. It's a term of respect. It is a term for someone's middle-aged uncle who fixes things on weekends. You do fix things. Last week you made one phone call and that construction noise stopped. I didn't ask questions, but I said thank you. She tilts her head. Were you not fixing things? He has no counter for this. The construction had been disturbing her sleep. He had noticed. He had handled it. He had told himself it was a noise ordinance issue. He had operational reasons. There were definitely operational reasons. He is not going to examine the operational reasons right now. Change it, he says. To what? Something appropriate. Like what? Boss man? Your Excellency? The mysterious one? Any of those? She looks at him for a long moment with an expression he cannot fully decode. Warm, a little amused, and something else underneath that he does not have the vocabulary for yet. I'll think about it, she says. She does not change it. Not out of defiance. She genuinely intends to consider it. But a week later she sees him through the kitchen window. He is outside, crouched down near the back gate, and the stray cat that lingers near the property is eating from his hand. He is talking to it quietly in Korean. His whole face is different. Soft and open and entirely private, completely himself in the way that people only are when they believe no one is watching. She stands at the window for only a moment. Then she steps back. She does not change the nickname because she understands something in that moment that she does not yet have full words for. That Ajiasi, the way she uses it, is not a diminishment of who he is. It is an address to who he was before he decided that being careful was more important than anything else. It is a door left open. It is an invitation back to the boy in the photograph, the one with his head thrown back, laughing at something outside the frame. She calls him Ajiasi for the rest of the story. He stops asking her to change it. Then Nikki has a date. She mentions it the way she mentions everything. Casually while doing something else, with the complete unawareness of someone who does not know they are holding a lit match near something flammable. Hey, I'm finishing early on Friday. I'm going out. Hyun-woo is at the kitchen table reading. He turns a page. Fine. A guy from my Korean class asked me to dinner. He turns another page. He has been on the same page for 4 minutes. He's been asking for a while actually. I figured why not? Fine, Hyunwoo says. His voice is perfectly even. This is, objectively, a remarkable vocal performance. Inside his chest, something is doing something that he is absolutely not naming. Anyway, I left dinner in the fridge. She leaves the room. He puts the document down. He picks it up. He puts it down. Within the hour, Juno knows about the date. Juno knows about everything within the hour. This is why he has been employed for 11 years. The group chat does not handle this information with maturity. She has a date. No. Ajiasi is going to implode. Nobody say anything to him. I repeat, do not. He just called me into his office. Byung-soo don't. Too late, I'm already here. Byung-soo sits across from Hyunwoo, who is looking out the window with the focused expression of a man solving a complex tactical problem. The problem is not tactical. Byung-soo knows what the problem is. Everyone in the building knows what the problem is. The problem has been obvious for weeks to everyone except the 2 people directly involved. I need background on someone, Hyunwoo says. Byung-soo waits. A man from Nikki's Korean language class. A long pause. Sir. His full name, employment history, criminal record, financial standing, and whether he has ever done anything that would make him a... He stops. Recalibrates. A security concern. A security concern. Byung-soo repeats. She lives in my residence. Anyone she associates with is a potential. Sir. Security. Sir. Hyunwoo looks at him. Byung-soo, who is stared down armed men without his pulse changing, takes a careful breath. Just tell her. Run the background check. I will run the background check if you also tell her. Run it first. Fine. The man is 26 years old. Clean record. Works in finance. Volunteers at an animal shelter on weekends. No criminal connections. No red flags. By every measurable standard, he is exactly the kind of person you would want someone you care about to go to dinner with. Hyunwoo finds this deeply, completely irrationally irritating. He closes the file. He opens it again. Volunteer. Animal shelter. He closes the file. Friday arrives. Hyunwoo is in the hallway at 7 in the evening doing absolutely nothing. Standing near the umbrella stand. In a suit. For no reason. This is simply where he is standing. Nikki comes downstairs and he looks at her, and for one unguarded half-second something crosses his face that he locks down immediately. You look nice, he says. She stops. She actually stops walking and looks at him, because John Hyunwoo does not say you look nice. John Hyunwoo says noted and continue and fine. 3 unprompted words of sincere observation are, in his personal communication vocabulary, the equivalent of a soliloquy. Thank you. She says it carefully, like she is checking for hidden meaning. A silence. Be back before midnight, he says. She stares at him. I'm 27. The neighborhood. I have your address in my phone, I have pepper spray, and I have been a black woman alive in the world for 27 years. Ajiasi. I think I can manage a dinner. He steps aside. She leaves. He stands in the hallway for another minute, listening to the sound of the front door closing, and then he does something that John Hyunwoo has not done since he was approximately 17 years old. He goes and sits in a kitchen to wait for someone to come home. He makes tea. Not because he wants tea. He needs something to do with his hands. The kitchen is quiet and too large, and the clock on the wall is right there, and he is absolutely not looking at it. He looks at it. It is 7:14. He looks at the tea. He looks at the window. He looks at the clock. 7:22. He gets up. He sits back down. He picks up his phone. He puts it down. He reviews 3 documents on his laptop, reads the same paragraph in each one without retaining a single word, and closes all of them. 8:09. The tea is cold. He has not drunk any of it. He makes new tea. He does not drink this one either. She comes home at 10:30. He is still at the kitchen table, with the cold tea, sitting in the specific posture of a man who has definitely not been waiting. She comes in and she sees him and she sees the untouched tea and she sees his face, carefully, deliberately neutral, working very hard at neutrality in a way that is visible if you are paying attention, and Nikki Brown is always paying attention, and something shifts in her expression. Something quiet and knowing and not quite a smile. The date was terrible, by the way, she says. He spent 45 minutes talking about his ex. A pause. I'm sorry, Hyunwoo says. He does not sound sorry. He sounds like a man whose blood pressure has just dropped 15 points. He sounds like someone receiving news he was very carefully not hoping for. You don't sound sorry. I am. You look like someone just told you something good. I don't know what you're referring to. She looks at him for a long, searching moment. This man with his cold tea and his careful face and his absolute determination to be unreadable, sitting in his own kitchen at 10:30 on a Friday night, and she laughs. Not at him. Not unkindly. Just at all of it. At the whole ridiculous accumulation of everything this situation is. Something in his face does the thing it does sometimes, the thing he cannot entirely suppress anymore. Something that looks, against the weight of 16 years, like warmth. Good night, Ajiasi, she says, heading for the stairs. Good night, he says. She goes upstairs. He pours the cold tea down the drain. He is smiling. Barely. Just at the corner of his mouth. Just for a moment. In an empty kitchen where nobody can see. Juno, who has been in the adjacent room for the past 3 hours reading the same page of a report, texts the group chat a single word. Soon. The group chat responds with 47 messages in 6 minutes. The morning after Friday is careful in the way mornings are careful when something has shifted in a house but nobody has said so out loud yet. Both of them moving through the same space with a slightly different quality of awareness. Not awkward. Just altered. Like a room where someone has moved a piece of furniture and everyone is navigating around the new arrangement without acknowledging that anything changed. Hyunwoo is in the study 2 days later when Nikki comes in to continue reorganizing. Her 4th complete reorganization of the house. She is thorough and she has opinions and the study has needed it for months. She is working through a shelf of books when she finds a small framed photograph she has not seen before. Behind the books, like it was put there for safekeeping rather than display. She holds it up. It is Hyunwoo. Younger, maybe 20, maybe younger. Laughing. Actually laughing. Head thrown back. Completely unguarded in a way that does not match any expression she has ever seen on his face. He looks like a completely different person. He looks like someone who has not yet decided to be careful. He looks like the boy who has not yet become the man. She is still holding it when he walks in. He sees it and something moves across his face. Not quite pain, not quite the composed neutrality he wears everywhere, but something older and less protected than either. I've never seen you laugh, she says. Not accusatory. Just a simple observation of a true thing. I laugh. Name a time. He looks at her. He does not name a time. He cannot name a time. This is because there is not one, not in recent memory, not in the kind of laughing she means, the unguarded kind, the kind where you forget to manage your face. She looks at the photograph, then at him, and her voice goes quiet in the specific way it goes quiet when she is saying something that costs her something to say. What happened to that guy? The study is very still. For a long moment Hyunwoo says nothing. And then, and this is the thing that she will think about later, this is the moment she will file away carefully. He does not retreat into the silence. Something in him is tired of retreating. He decided being careful was more important than being happy, he says. His voice is even, completely controlled. And it is the truest thing he has said about himself in 16 years, said in the most ordinary tone, like someone putting something down they've been carrying for a long time and finally have somewhere to set it. She looks at him. Was he right? The pause that follows is longer than any answer should require from a man who is as decisive as Hyunwoo in every other area of his life. No, he says. No, I don't think he was. Nikki puts the photograph down. She puts it back exactly where she found it, handled with the same careful respect she gave the grandmother photograph. Then she does something unexpected. She does not push. She does not follow it up, does not make it a moment, does not lean into the opening. She just nods once like, okay, that's enough for now, that's what we can hold today, and picks up a book to reshelve. For what it's worth, she says, not looking at him. He still shows up sometimes. The guy in the photo. He is very still. When you feed the cat and think nobody's watching, she is already moving on to the next shelf. She does not see his face. He stands there. He does not say anything for long enough that she turns around. He is looking at her with an expression she has never seen on him. No controlled composure. No careful neutrality. No management of any kind. Just Hyun-woo, looking at her like she said something that reached somewhere very specific and very deep that he had stopped believing anything could reach. You watch me feed the cat, he says. I've seen it twice. By accident. I was going to keep denying the cat. I know. Why didn't you say anything? She shrugs. Simply. Without making it large. Some things are just for you. 3 days pass. Not 3 dramatic days. 3 ordinary days. Mornings, meals, the sound of Beyoncé somewhere in the house. Documents reviewed. The cat fed at the back gate in the early evening when the light goes golden. 3 days of 2 people moving through the same space with the careful, slightly altered quality of people who have said something true and are letting it settle before deciding what it means. On the 3rd day, she is in the kitchen. She is not doing anything particular. Making coffee, moving between the counter and the refrigerator, completely in the ordinary rhythm of her own presence in a space she has made genuinely hers over these months. She does not look up when he comes in because she never performs awareness of him, never arranges herself differently when he enters a room, and this specific quality, this refusal to perform, has been, if he is being honest with himself, one of the things that, I don't want you to leave, he says. She stops. She turns and looks at him. He is standing in the kitchen doorway. Not his usual composed stillness, but something more exposed. A man who has walked into an open field and made a decision to stop looking for cover. My contract ends in 2 months, she says carefully. I know. I was going to go back to Atlanta. I know that too. She puts down what she is holding. She gives him her full attention in the way she gives full attention. Completely without reservation, without the performance of concern. Just present. Entirely. Ajiasi. Her voice is warm and careful in equal measure. You are going to need to be more specific. He exhales. It is the exhale of a man who has not said a true thing about himself in 16 years preparing, finally, to say one. The exhale of someone putting down armor they have been wearing so long they forgot it was armor. You are the only person in my life who has ever looked at me like I was. He stops. He starts again. Like I was worth. Like there was something still. He stops again. He is John Hyun-woo. He has negotiated with dangerous men in 3 languages. He has delivered sentences that ended careers and closed operations and redirected the flow of money and power across 3 districts. He has never once, not in 16 years of extraordinary competence, lost command of a room. He cannot currently complete 1 sentence about his own feelings, and it is the most undone, the most genuinely and completely undone, she has ever seen him. He looks like the boy in the photograph. He looks like someone who has not yet learned to be careful. He looks, for the first time since she arrived, like a person. Hey, Nikki says softly. He looks at her. I'm not going anywhere if you just ask me to stay. The simplicity of this lands somewhere in him like something structural giving way. Not collapsing, settling. The way a house settles when it is finally on the right foundation. I'm asking you to stay. Okay. He stares at her. That's it. That's it. That seems too simple. Hyun-woo. His name. Just his name. Not Ajiasi. Not sir. Not the title or the position or any of the 10,000 ways people have addressed him. Just Hyun-woo. Quiet and direct. Landing somewhere in him like a key turning in a lock he had forgotten had a key. Not everything has to be complicated, she says. He looks at her for a long moment. In my experience. I know. Your experience is bad. Let's make you some new ones. Something breaks open in his face. Slow and irreversible, the way ice breaks in spring. Not dramatically, not all at once, but with the quiet inevitability of something that was always going to happen when the right warmth finally arrived. Because honestly, and neither of them would say this out loud, but it is true for both of them and it has been true for a while, nobody is surprised. Not her. Not him. Not Juno, who was in the adjacent room and immediately, without hesitation, without preamble, texts the group chat 18 exclamation marks and nothing else. The group chat receives this transmission and loses its collective mind. When they separate, she looks at him and he is flushed. Genuinely, visibly flushed. John Hyun-woo, who has never once in his adult life shown involuntary color, is standing in his own kitchen with his ears red and his composure in pieces on the floor, and she presses her lips together with the specific effort of someone working very hard not to laugh. Was that? She starts. Don't, he says. I'm just saying, for a man who makes people cry by sighing. Nikki, you were nervous. I was not. Your ARS, Agiasi. I will end this conversation. She laughs. Fully and completely, the kind of laugh that takes up the whole room. The kind that she has been carrying in her chest for months. The laugh of someone who has been watching something build to exactly this moment and is delighted and moved and trying not to show too much of either. He watches her laugh. And the thing that has been building in him for months, the thing he has been managing and filing and systematically avoiding, crests. And he laughs. Actually laughs out loud, unexpected and real and completely unguarded. The kind of laugh that has not come out of him since he was 19 years old. She stops. She stares at him. She is looking at him the way you look at something rare. The way you look at something you were not sure still existed, and then it does. He catches himself. He starts to arrange his face back into its usual order. She reaches out and grabs his arm. No, she says. Don't stop. Do it again. I'm not. Hyun-woo. He looks at her. She is smiling at him, just at him, for nothing, for free, without calculation or agenda or the careful measurement of what is safe to give, the way his grandmother used to. He does not laugh again. But he smiles. A real one. Slow and slightly crooked and entirely, completely unguardedly his. She files it away. She will keep it for the rest of her life. The next morning, Juno arrives for the scheduled briefing at 8:15. He has been arriving for this briefing for 11 years. He knows the shape of every morning in this house. This morning is different. He finds Hyun-woo in the kitchen. At the table, not standing over it in the posture of someone moving through on the way to something else. Sitting. At the table. Eating breakfast that someone clearly made with care. Drinking coffee that someone clearly prepared the way he takes it. While Nikki moves around the kitchen behind him, singing the wrong words to something. Confidently, completely, incorrectly wrong. And occasionally saying, without turning around, try the fruit, you never eat the fruit. And Hyun-woo, without looking up from his documents, picks up a piece of fruit and eats it. Juno stands in the doorway. He stands there for a moment that has nothing to do with the briefing. Then he goes back to the hallway and texts the group chat. He ate the fruit. Byung-soo responds with a crying emoji. Someone else. He's going to be insufferable now, isn't he? Juno, completely. Absolutely. Already. Juno. Also, she reorganized the briefing room. Juno, he didn't say anything. Byung-soo. ITS over for US. Later that morning, after the briefing, after the documents, after the second cup of coffee, Nikki leans over Hyun-woo's shoulder to look at something on the table and says, that looks stressful. Do you want more coffee? And Hyun-woo says, yes, without looking up, and she makes it and sets it down beside him, and he catches her hand. Barely a second. Just a touch. His hand closing briefly over hers before releasing, before going back to the document, before the morning continues being exactly what it was. She goes back to the counter. Neither of them makes it a moment. It already is one. It has been one since before either of them had the language for it. Since a 2 a.m. kitchen and a nickname learned from a YouTube video and a pantry reorganized by vibes and a stray cat fed quietly at the back gate and a bowl of soup that meant 16 years without saying a word. It is already one, and it will continue to be one. In all the ordinary Thursdays and reorganized rooms and wrong word Beyonce and cold tea and covered plates and sticky notes and fruit eaten without being asked twice that come after this. And then one more thing. One final entry in the group chat. No chaos this time. No caps lock. No confetti emoji. No 47 responses in 6 minutes. Just Juno. One message. He laughed today. Out loud. I've worked for him for 11 years. I didn't know he could do that. No response for a long time. Then Byung-soo. One word. Yeah. That is the whole message. That is the end. He had spent 16 years building walls high enough to disappear behind. Not out of cruelty. Not out of coldness. Out of a grief that was never named. A loss that was never processed. A 19-year-old boy who decided one terrible night that the safest thing he could do was need nothing and feel nothing and let no one in close enough to matter. He built an empire on the rubble of that decision. He was very good at it. He was the best in the room at being unreachable. It cost him 16 years of laughter and warmth and fruit eaten at a kitchen table and mornings that feel like something instead of nothing. She had spent 27 years giving warmth to everyone who needed it. Her family, her ex who never deserved it, every difficult man she tried to make available through sheer persistence, without once asking anyone to do the same for her. She came to Seoul not to find anything but to escape something. She came without a plan beyond student loans and survival. She did not come to dismantle a criminal empire with a Beyoncé discography and strong opinions about pantry organization. She did it anyway. Neither of them arrived at each other gracefully. There was no single grand moment, no dramatic declaration, no clean arc from strangers to something else. There was a nickname used incorrectly that landed perfectly. There was expired soup thrown away instead of a pantry reorganized back. There was a man checking a clock 11 times and a woman leaving food for someone who kept trying to pay for it. There was a stray cat and a second photograph and a study that smelled like a kitchen from a different decade and a cold tea poured down a drain with the ghost of a smile. There was a kitchen and a Thursday and the simplest sentence in the world. I'm not going anywhere if you just ask me to stay. This story is about what it costs to protect yourself from the thing you need most. It is about grief that never got named becoming a personality. The way Hein was control and coldness were not character flaws but survival strategies built around a wound that never closed. The way Nikki's humor and capability and warmth were not just who she was but armor she wore, so that nobody would notice she had not been taken care of in a very long time. It is about the specific terror of being seen plainly, not for your power, not for your usefulness, not for what you can offer, but simply as a person. As someone slightly ridiculous who needs feeding and a nap. As someone whose laugh, heard for the first time after 11 years, makes the people around them go quiet with something that looks very much like relief. It is about the radical, quietly revolutionary act of refusing to participate in someone's myth. Of seeing through the armor without fanfare or agenda. Of calling a feared man little uncle because he reminded you of your uncle after tax season, and meaning it and not understanding until much later what it meant to him. It is about care as a language that some people were never taught to receive, and the long, imperfect, slightly absurd process of learning it from someone who speaks it fluently, one covered plate and sticky note and caught hand at a time. It is about the bravest thing, which is not surviving hard things. Hyun-woo survived hard things for 16 years with extraordinary competence. The bravest thing was sitting at a kitchen table and eating the fruit without being asked twice. The bravest thing was not retreating from the silence. The bravest thing was I'm asking you to stay, said to someone who had already shown they would leave if he didn't say it, in a kitchen on a Thursday without any of the armor on. And it is about this. The people who change your life are not always the ones who arrive with force or drama or obvious significance. Sometimes they arrive with 2 suitcases and a read more tote bag and strong opinions about your pantry. Sometimes the most dangerous person in the world to you is the one who looks at you like you hung the moon and charges you nothing for it and means every word. Sometimes the bravest thing you will ever do is let them stay. If the story found you at the right moment, if something in it landed somewhere you needed it to, if Nikki's warmth reminded you of a warmth you have been giving away without anyone giving it back, if Heinwa's walls reminded you of something you have been carrying longer than you should have, then you already know which moment got you. Come back to the comments and tell us. The timestamp challenge is still open. And if you are new here, subscribe because this is what we do. We take the long way around to something true and we trust you to stay for the whole journey. Thank you for spending an hour in this kitchen. Thank you for watching a man learn to eat the fruit. Thank you for being the kind of person who stays until the end of a story. That matters more than you know. We will see you in the next one.